And welcome back to the New Music Alliance Radio Hour. I'm Ace Housethor here today with Mark Sherry and our special guest, Vic Steffens, the owner and principal behind Horizon Recording Studio over in West Haven, Connecticut. You just heard My Blue Guitar by the Name Droppers, and starting things off, There Ain't No Cure, Christine Ohlman and Rebel Montez. Quite the collection here. Very hits right in that old rock and roll soul.
Well, they're all rock and roll soul people. That's why it's like that.
Exactly.
So Vic, you have a real connection here to this, not only to the tune, having produced it, but to Christine, because she's related to you. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about sort of the background of you and Christine? And
she's my sister. Yes. Actually, to tell you the truth, Ain't No Cure. I'm technically not the producer. I'm the exec producer, and also I mixed it and mastered it, recorded it, and mastered. I did everything else on it. But Andy York, who is a fantastic guitar player, plays with Ian Hunter, and also plays with John Mellencamp, who was a friend of Christine's. He produced that song. You know, not that we didn't all have something to say about it. We were all there and ended up doing it. But it's a great little song.
Driving beat. That song has got such a great driving beat, and Christine's voice is just killer for that style of music. She's perfect.
It's her live band actually playing that, which I think said a lot. You know, she's like a one taker. You know, I've never seen her do more than maybe two takes if something's going on or something. But she's just one of those people. She doesn't really have an off switch when it comes to performing. She just goes and you know, she's been working at a high level with great people for such a long time. You know, she's in the Saturday Night Live band, has been for 30 years, which means, you know, and every one of those guys is crushing. You know, there's nobody in that band that isn't an A+, you know. So if you're going to be around A+ people, you kind of learn to be an A+ person. And she's that good a singer, and the song is fantastic.
So Vic, you got to tell us that story you shared with us a little while ago about you two grew up in Cheshire, Connecticut, and you got to tell us that story about how you wound up getting your first recording contract with the two of you.
Well, we used to rehearse in my parents' basement for the longest time. They were very good to let us do that. I have to be honest with you. We made a racket. We took over the room. You know, it was. And it's funny because other musicians used to come by sometimes and rehearse, you know, or hang around with us. And this woman, her name, Rose Sabatino, as I recall, moved in next door, and her husband had been transferred to Connecticut, but she was a New Yorker. She was from Manhattan. And if you know anything about people from Manhattan, they don't like being taken out of Manhattan. They're used to that thing, you know. And so she's living in the house over there, and she you know, she became friendly with my parents, and, you know, but she was obviously bored stiff, you know. And, you know, she started hearing the band, and she had been a singer in a big band in New York. So she heard my sister, and she heard the band, and she started coming by. And then one day she comes by and she says, "I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to get you a record deal." You know, and of course we just thought that was ridiculous. You know, I mean, what do you mean you're going to get a record deal? That's not going to happen.
And how old were you guys then?
15. I was 15. Christine was 16. Yeah. It's hard to believe. Yes, I was once 15 years old. And so she comes by, and then 2 weeks later, we get a phone call, and it's like, "What are you doing on Friday?" "Okay, you're going to New York. You have 3 auditions at record companies." And so we go to New York, and, you know, one after the other, we go to these rehearsal places. And, you know, this is back in the day. There was really no such thing as a demo. They wanted to see you live, you know, they wanted to see what you could do. So we went and we played, and it turns out that this one label, Mainstream Records, this guy, Bob Shad, who was a pretty well-known guy. He had done a lot of pretty big things at Mercury Records, but then he left Mercury and he started his own label. He had already signed, and this was interesting, Big Brother and the Holding Company, which was Janis Joplin. So he knew what he was doing. And he had Ted Nugent, which was the Amboy Dukes, which actually had a #1 record for him. And he also had the Ultimate Spinach, which was a Boston band that the great guitar player Jeff Baxter was in. He liked the band, and he signed us. They took us to the studio, which at the time, A&R Studios, one of the biggest studios in New York. It was so funny because the first session, the engineer was a guy named Phil Ramone, who you might or might not know the name of, but Phil Ramone is like, he passed away a few years ago, but he was a gigantic producer.
Wow.
Billy Joel, among the real thing that a lot of people knew him for was Billy Joel. But he was just the engineer and part owner. They had opened this place, and I'll always remember we walked in the door, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to use the Young Rascals drums?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I want to." But we made a couple of records for them, and we didn't do as well as they'd like. They ended up dropping us, but nonetheless, it got us in the game, and we moved on from there. But it was just a fantastic experience to go there and do that, and we met a whole bunch of really cool people that we later we didn't even know who they were at the time, but we knew later, oh, that was what, So it was cool. It was a great story. I love it.
You guys have certainly gone on to great things after that, and Christine is still doing great work, and Saturday Night Live band. She's still rocking it, and I'm sure she'll keep rocking it for quite a while. So
I mean, we're not planning on going anywhere. We'll be annoying you forever.
Speaking of house bands, the Name Droppers, My Blue Guitar, that's so rock solid. Yeah, I love
that song. The Name Droppers were Charlie Karp's backup band. So that's how that happened. And Charlie had a protege named Rafe Klein, who he co-wrote a lot of songs with. Rafe played rhythm guitar when Charlie played lead, and Rafe was very supportive of Charlie. When he got sick, he was right there. And in a lot of ways, he's helped. A certain amount of what we do these days is just trying to keep Charlie's name where it belongs.
I was just going to say, those guys are not, lightweights at all. I mean, two of the rhythm section, the bass and drum players both played with Johnny Winter's band. I mean,
that's right.
These guys are solid.
I mean, Scott Spray has been the number. The funny thing is, in I don't know, maybe 1978 or something. I'm a New Haven guy, and I was trying to move out a little bit, and I had gotten a connection with this guy Paul Lecca down in Bridgeport, which is like south of New Haven. And it's always seemed like there's like the Maginot Wall happens between New Haven and Bridgeport, where musicians don't really move that much back and forth. So when I went to Bridgeport to work at his studio, which was Connecticut Recording Studios, I met a whole new group of people, some of whom were just fantastic. One of whom was this guy, Scott Spray, who was really considered to be the number one bass player down there in 1976. Well, he's still the number one bass player down there, and he's the number one bass player in the Name Droppers. He's played with everybody. I mean, he toured with Johnny Winter for years. He's done all the Crossroads things, played with Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck, all you almost can't name somebody he hasn't played with. And then Bobby Torello, Bobby T, as he's known up here, was the drummer, the earlier drummer with Johnny Winter, when Johnny Winter was more of a rock band, like when they were playing in front of 250,000 people in Grand Central Park. Bobby was the drummer. He used to wear like a gym suit with shorts, and he was very flamboyant and a fantastic drummer. And he still is today. So he's the drummer, and Scott Spray is the bass player. And Rafe Klein, who was, Charlie's guy, is the principal songwriter who wrote My Blue Guitar. And he's an excellent songwriter and really getting better every week.
I just wanted to say something about the song itself. It's a fun, funny song. It's great. It's just, I think really good music,
Did you see the video of it? Did you look that up?
No, I didn't see the video.
They did a video of it. It's really good. You should check it out.
And that's a brand new song too, right?
Yeah. That's like in the last couple of months.
Yeah, cool. Rock solid music with the right kind of attitude. So what do we got next?
We have our rockin' set now coming up. Yeah, we've got three tunes and some great bands, and we'll talk a little bit about them in a second. But we're going to start out with The Breakfast doing Shotgun Butterfly.